Hey there, happy Wednesday. Welcome into the show. This is the San Francisco 49ers Report, and we're live right here on Chat Sports. It is a beautiful Wednesday, November 13th, 2024. I'm Chase Sr., and no matter where you are, how you're tuned in, as always, we greatly appreciate all of you, the members of the faithful, the Niner Gang, the Niner Empire, for making today's show a part of your day. Another loaded one coming up on the 49ers Report rundown, and here is that rundown. Niners making a couple of roster moves over the last couple of days that I want to get to. We have a positive Christian McCaffrey injury update following a lot of usage against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in his 2024 season debut. There's also some positive developments on the George Kittle injury front. I want to go in depth on quarterback Brock Purdy, working off of what he did against Tampa Bay and the significance of it. And then we're going to round out the show with the mailbag. Open up the floor. Let's hear from you. You get involved. How do you do it? Easy. You use the hashtag 49ers or you send in a super chat. And as we know, even though the Niners won that thriller against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, that's in the rear view. We're looking ahead. NFL Week 11, Niners Seahawks at Levi's Stadium in Santa Clara. If you hate the Seahawks, one of the best rivalries in the National Football League, I need everybody right now to hit that thumbs up icon, like the video, and type F Seattle in the chat. I saw Al, Brandy, Oscar, they were all hanging out before the show. Those are some real ones right there, and that's why you turn on your notifications. Therefore, anytime we go live, you will get that push notification. And look at that. Brandy typing F Seattle, Gene, Robert, Arabella, John, Wendy, Bradley typing F Seattle. I see Darren Taylor is in the chat. Producer Jake Chipper on the ones and twos. He's saying it in my ear right now. F Seattle. The Book of Ronan. King Diamond. Fukene. What's up, Fukene? Long time no talk. Thomas F. Fragrance. Jay Wizzle. Lane Hawkin, continue to type F Seattle and be sure to hit that thumbs up icon and like the video. It is also never too early to get your mailbag questions in, so get them in starting right now. Therefore, Chip can start to compile those. You use the hashtag 49ers or you send in a super chat. Our sponsor for today's 49ers Report Live on this November 13th, our friends at Prize Picks. It's the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least two players for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks. We appreciate everybody for being a valued Prize Picks member. They also now offer Venmo for quick and easy deposits and withdrawals into your account this sports season. And right now, if you sign up today, you get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive that $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. And Prize Picks also offers weekly promotions that can lead to big payouts like Taco Tuesday each Tuesday. Some selections that we like for Niners Seahawks on Sunday. Brock Purdy, more than 263.5 passing yards. We took the more against the Buccaneers. He annihilated that. One of the best games of his career as far as passing yards totals go. Christian McCaffrey, more than 77.5 rushing yards. No lingering pain coming off of Sunday's win. That's a good sign. All of his runs to the outside, I think he could break out against the Seahawks defense, which has been prone to giving up chunks of yards on the ground. And then Geno Smith, more than 14.5 rushing yards. So pick more, pick less, pick Prize Picks. Head to prizepicks.com/CLNS. Daily fantasy sports made easy. We appreciate Prize Picks for making today's 49ers Report possible. And when you take a gander at our super chat menu, we're stacked up against a couple of rival teams. Can we beat these numbers here today? The Cowboys report earlier this week doing $150 in super chats, and they're a disaster. Their season is over. Dak Prescott out for the year. Seahawks today, the Niners opponent, $190 in super chats earlier this week. If we beat both of those teams and we get to $200 in total super chats, 3 segments here today. So we got to act quickly. I will do a beer boot, 3 beers in 1 boot. If you're ready to start the show and talk some Niners. I want you to hit that thumbs up icon and like the video. I will be live on the 49ers Collective tonight alongside Grant Cohn, Jesse Naylor, and Ashley Ariana. That show is coming up at, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. We'll talk some Niners, a little bit of a round table. You don't want to miss that discussion, so be sure to check that out. Continue to hit that thumbs up icon and like the video. In the meantime, right here on the Niners Report, King Diamond, this is my favorite and only channel to get my Niners news. I love you. I appreciate you. It's your boy Chris saying Eagles are the best team. All right, it's your boy Chris talking that smack. All right, 200 people watching live, 57 likes. We need to get to 100 likes ASAP.
Let's go, baby.
So continue to smash that thumbs up icon and like the video. And with that, let's start the official show live on the San Francisco 49ers Report. Coming up on today's San Francisco 49ers Report by Chat Sports, Chase Sr. here with you. The Niners have made a couple of roster moves this week and today. San Francisco signing a punter. We're going to talk about those aforementioned roster moves. Also get to the latest Niners injury news going into this huge NFC West rivalry game against the Seattle Seahawks at home for the Niners at Levi's Stadium, which is coming up on Sunday. And let's begin with the Niners signing a punter. Punters are people too. Pat O'Donnell has been added to the San Francisco 49ers practice squad. He is very experienced, been in the league for about a decade, and he has more than 600 career punts to his resume. The reason why the Niners are making this move, they want to be sure, especially with one of the worst special teams units that I have ever seen. And pertaining to that punter position for the Niners, Mitch Wishnowsky might not be able to play in this game against the Seahawks. Kyle Shanahan saying earlier this week that his back flared up after that Buccaneers game. He was on hand to be the holder for that Jake Moody game winner at the end of regulation, and he did punt quite frequently in that game, but the back flaring up on him, and he's been dealing with that back injury over the last couple of weeks. Back in the preseason, he was dealing with that knee injury. Last year, he was one of the finer punters in the NFL. This year, he's really struggled, as has this entire special teams unit. As for O'Donnell, he was with the Chicago Bears for a long time, 2014 through 2021, and then with the Green Bay Packers in 2022, did not play with the team last year. The corresponding roster move for the Niners, they have released defensive tackle T.Y. McGill from the taxi squad. He served as a rotational player for this Niners defense over the last couple of years. And here's a direct quote from what Shanahan had to say earlier this week about Wishnowsky. We're going to evaluate some treatment options this week and see how he deals with these the next couple of days. This is very similar to when Jake Moody got hurt. The Niners signed a couple of kickers to the practice squad. First, Matthew Wright, Anders Carlson. You obviously knew that Jake Moody wasn't going to be able to play, so then they elevate those players to the active roster. And if Wishnowsky cannot play, the same thing will happen with O'Donnell. He will be elevated to the game day roster, and he will be the team's punter come Sunday against Seattle. Been a good punter in the league, a career 45.1 yards per punt average, and 36% of his punts have been nailed inside the 20-yard line. That's that classic saying, the coffin corner. Anytime that you can punt that ball inside the 20, and the opposition and the opposing offense has to operate offensively in the shadows of their own goalpost, your defense starts that drive off, of course, with an advantage. Kyle Shanahan also added that O'Donnell does have holding ability. So if he needs to hold and Wishnowsky can't play, he will be the team's holder. Kyle Juszczyk, the Niners fullback, of course, can also hold. He's been capable of doing that and has done that throughout his career. But if O'Donnell has to play, I'll tell you this, the pressure will be on, because this Niners special teams unit, seemingly week in and week out, continues to have a gaffe here, a mistake there, a blunder here. They give up a big play there. It is one of the worst special teams units I have ever seen in my life of watching football, and I remember watching NFL games as early as 4 years old. That third phase of the game is a joke under head coach Kyle Shanahan, as evidenced by the Niners' DVOA rankings this year. They've been good offensively, second in yards per game. They move the ball. They struggle inside the red zone, but DVOA, they rank third among 32 teams. Defensively, give credit where credit is due. Nick Sorensen has this unit playing better over the last few weeks. The Niners are fourth in defensive DVOA. Special teams-wise, 31st among 32 teams. Don't let any analyst out there, don't let any content creator out there tell you that this special teams unit is not terrible. The numbers back it up. The eye test backs it up. We see bad punt coverage. We see bad kick coverage. We see special teams mistakes being made week in, week out. Field goals getting blocked. Extra points getting blocked. Muff punts on returns. The list is as long as Santa Claus's list right now as he gets ready for December 25th. It has been an unmitigated disaster. And if Pat O'Donnell has to play in this game, again, the pressure will be on for him. As for some Niners injury news, these following players did not practice on Wednesday. Tight end George Kittle, hamstring. Punter Mitch Wishnowsky with the aforementioned back. Defensive lineman Kevin Givens with that groin. Cornerback Charvarius Ward, personal reasons. Our thoughts and prayers are with him. Defensive lineman Nick Bosa because of that hip pointer. You could tell that he was a little bit bothered by that injury against Tampa Bay when he needed to come through with the clutch sack. He was able to do that on Baker Mayfield on Sunday. And then left tackle Trent Williams, ankle and a wrist. Now, Kyle Shanahan did say not really too worried about George Kittle as far as his game status goes for Sunday. That's, of course, a good sign. These following players limited in practice. Running back Christian McCaffrey, Achilles. The good news with McCaffrey, didn't feel any ill effects from playing his first game of the season. His bilateral Achilles tendonitis, it did not flare up. That is a wonderful sign for this football team moving forward. Offensive lineman John Feliciano, knee injury also limited. He's coming back off that injury after he suffered that injury and had to undergo surgery prior to the year. And then wide receiver Chris Conley with the hamstring. It is rivalry week. Niners Seahawks, one of the best rivalries in the National Football League. Anytime these two teams meet in between the painted lines, they mash heads. They play with physicality. They jaw back and forth, and it is theater to watch. So if you hate the Seahawks, I want you to hit that thumbs up icon, like the video, and type F Seattle down in the comment section right now. More roster moves to get to, including a player signed who could help this Niners special teams unit. Stay tuned for that, but first, Prize Picks, our sponsor for today's Niners Report, the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks. Best place to get that real money sports action. Prize Picks invented the flex play, which means that you can still cash out if your lineup isn't perfect. You can double your money even if one of your picks does not hit. And Prize Picks puts their members first. So all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. When my picks hit, I can get my money in as quick as 15 minutes. And Prize Picks now offers Venmo for quick and easy deposits and withdrawals right into your account during this sports season. When you sign up today, you get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive that $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Our selections for this upcoming Sunday, Brock Purdy coming off a fine passing game against Tampa Bay. More than 263.5 passing yards. Christian McCaffrey, more than 77.5 rushing yards. And Geno Smith, more than 14.5 rushing yards. I think that Niners pass rush can get home like they did against Seattle in Week 6, and Geno Smith will be running for his life. Daily fantasy sports made easy. Pick more, pick less, pick Prize Picks. PrizePicks.com/CLNS. As for some other Niners roster moves here, a few more to get to. San Francisco signed running back Patrick Taylor back to the practice squad. Corresponding roster move, they released running back Keyshawn Vaughn. Taylor was with this team throughout training camp and in the preseason, and was with this team to start the year, as recently even as playing against the Dallas Cowboys prior to the Niners Week 9 bye. 2020 UDFA out of Memphis, spent his entire career with the Green Bay Packers from 2020 to 2023. Limited workload with Green Bay, primarily looked at and used as a special teamer. The Niners can use some special teams help with San Francisco here in 2024. They let him go recently, now bringing him back after they elevated Christian McCaffrey to the active roster. He is a pretty tall back, the tallest running back that Kyle Shanahan's ever had with the Niners, in fact, 6'2". 217 pounds. And this year, 5 carries for 16 yards against the Seahawks. He stepped in. I actually thought he ran pretty well with that limited workload when Jordan Mason went out. Then it also became the Isaac Guerendo show. And then had 2 carries for 9 yards against the Dallas Cowboys, So on the season for Patrick Taylor, 7 totes for 25 yards. Earlier this week, the 49ers made an under-the-radar signing in bringing in cornerback Nick McCloud, formerly of the New York Giants. Nick McCloud is a solid special teamer who can occupy the role of gunner, and I think that he can potentially help San Francisco's special teams unit as well. Last year in 2023, he was the 13th ranked cornerback in Pro Football Focus's coverage grade at 80.7. He's looked at and used as more of a backup corner, but still, when he was in the game, he was able to hold up well. He allowed a passer rating of 83.9 when targeted a year ago, and he played his college football both at NC State and Notre Dame, was able to get his start in the National Football League as a UDFA back in 2021. And he's a pretty good athlete with long speed. Shout out to Kevin Kruger, the son of the great Larry Kruger. Be sure to check out the Krug Show, one of the top Niners channels out there. He also covers all Bay Area sports, a Bay Area sports radio legend who is doing a show Monday through Friday on KNBR. And I join Larry Kruger every single Friday, the Krug and Chase Show, which comes your way at 1:45 p.m. Eastern, 10:45 a.m. Pacific. So if you want more Niners talk from me, then you can check out the Krug Show. But his son, Kevin Kruger, a great follow for all types of Niners content, especially some deep dive numbers and analytics. And I wanted to pass this along because Kevin Kruger passed along McCloud's spider chart, which shows that he has above average height and above average wingspan. And what Krug mentioned here, he finds his 40-yard dash splits to be interesting. 38th percentile in the 10-yard split, 1.57 seconds. Not great, pretty slow. 94th percentile in the 20-yard split, 2.25. But 64th percentile in the 40-yard dash, 4.46, 40-yard dash speed. And so what that means is that McCloud has a below-average 10-yard split, but an elite 20-yard split, and it seems like he isn't all that quick, but he has good long speed. Why is that long speed important? When you serve as a gunner, you need that long speed to jet down the football field. And here is that spider chart, and really you look at how this is able to show in an organized fashion what all of the athletic traits kind of are. And the more that you get toward the boundary, the better the athlete is. Be sure to give me a follow, by the way, on social media. I'm on X at Chase_Senior. I put out so much Niners content there, as well as on my Instagram at Chase_Senior. Over 14,000 followers on X. Thank you, Elon. Over 34,000 followers on IG. And on Instagram specifically, I've reached almost 5 million people over the last calendar month. So be sure to check out my short form content in addition to the long form content right here. Segment number 1 is down. We have 2 more segments to get to. And we have a super chat battle to win, hopefully. The Cowboys report earlier this week doing $150 in super chats. The Niners opponent on Sunday, Seahawks today, doing $190 in super chats. If we're able to beat those numbers and we get the $200 total, I'll do a beer boot. 3 beers, 1 boot. Let's make it happen. You send in a super chat. It goes a long way in supporting everything that we do. If you want a 49ers Report hat, by the way, you can send me a $100 Venmo. We'll get that sent to you, in addition to a Chat Sports bottle opener and some Chat Sports sunglasses. Again, goes a long way in supporting everything that we do. We're currently expanding our studios for like the third or fourth time since I started working here. We're hiring 6 new people to grow the staff. So if you want to be a part of the Chat Sports empire and help us out, send a Venmo, send a super chat. The Venmo name is down below, and I will message you on Venmo to get you a 49ers Report hat so you can rep the show. Mailbag, that'll be segment number 3. So that's coming up, segment number 3. Segment number 2 is coming up right now, how the Niners got some really positive news on Christian McCaffrey, George Kittle, and we're going to do a deep dive on quarterback Brock Purdy. Matthew Short, it's your boy Chris, Dark, Arabella Adam, Renasso, all a part of the recent commenter club.
And shout out to Al, shout out to Matthew Short, getting questions in. I know.
Good job.
They're not the only 2, though, that have some questions about this Niners team. One more seg, then we're getting into the mailbag. We want to hear from y'all. Get on the show, baby. You know, millions of people watch the show every single month.
Yep.
So get on there. Get your questions in, your takes, whatever you want.
Let's get it.
We got you, baby. We got you. And if you send in a super chat, you're guaranteed to get your question answered at the start of the mailbag.
Yep, 200 people hanging out. 108 likes. Continue to hit that thumbs up icon, like the video. Corona guy, he's always in the comment section on the Niners Report. What a guy. It's your boy Chris. I'm unsubscribing. That's weird. I had made y'all the moderator back a little while ago, but now you're in your feelings. Can't be in your feelings out here. It's the internet. How do you think I feel when people rip me? It's all good. We keep it moving. All right, here we go. Niners got some great news, segment number 2. Let's get into it. Welcome into the San Francisco 49ers Report. Chase Sr. here with you. And no matter where you are, how you're tuned in, as always, I greatly appreciate you for making today's show a part of your day. Who we're talking about on the program here today? We have a great update on Christian McCaffrey. The same can be said for George Kittle, who's dealing with a little bit of a hamstring issue. And we're going to do a deep dive on Brock Purdy. And I'm going to explain why how he played against Tampa Bay is huge for this Niners team moving forward. Let's first take a look at our sub count. This is the largest independently run Niners channel right here on YouTube, and we're closing in on another really special milestone of 150,000 subscribers. We are 845 people away from that number. I encourage you to lock us in, hit that sub button right now for daily and year-round coverage of the Niners. Anytime that I'm talking San Francisco football, I want this content and these shows to be as insightful, informative, entertaining, thought-provoking as possible, and I always want you to have a voice. So join the movement here today. As for the latest on running back Christian McCaffrey, we had talked so much about Kyle Shanahan managing his workload, making his season debut in Week 10 against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the severity of the injury with him dealing with bilateral Achilles tendonitis, and we thought maybe San Francisco is going to ease him in, considering he led the NFL in touches last year, got a contract extension. They upped his average annual value to about $19 million per year, and they gave him guaranteed money, and they can't afford to mess around with Achilles tendonitis. Well, he played in 54 of 61 snaps against the Buccaneers, about 84% if my math is correct, even though I failed elementary algebra in college. And what's crazy about McCaffrey's performance against Tampa Bay, you could tell that at times he was a little bit winded, trying to catch his breath, trying to get his feet beneath him. He said it was the 3rd time that he's worn a full set of pads over the last 8 weeks. Yet Christian McCaffrey still had more than 100 all-purpose yards, and his workload against the Buccaneers very similar to how Kyle Shanahan and the Niners utilized him last year. It's hard to keep him off the field because he's so dynamic as a runner, as a pass catcher, but he's also so good with pass protection in trying to keep Brock Purdy clean in the pocket and upright. Now you look at the rushing numbers for McCaffrey. not great. San Francisco did struggle to run the ball against that Buccaneers defense. Anytime you go up against Vita Vea, he takes up so much real estate and girth on the interior, right? And he's a load to handle. And so when you try to run it up the middle, you can have some issues. When you try to run it in general, especially against a stacked box, because Todd Bowles was blitzing so much and he utilized so many loaded fronts, you're just not going to find a lot of success on the ground. That's why Brock Purdy had one of the best statistically throwing and passing games of his career. So McCaffrey, he ran it 13 times, 39 yards, only 3 yards per carry along a 13. You didn't see the big chunk runs or the explosive runs. He looked pretty good in running the football. I thought at times maybe the cut ability wasn't as explosive. It didn't have the burst there because he's trying to come back off that injury. Also pretty telling how the Niners used him. All of his runs were to the outside. As you can see here with this chart, 6 attempts for 24 yards to the right side, 7 attempts for 15 yards to the left side. None of his runs were along the interior. All of his runs toward the right tackle, toward the left tackle. Is that because of the injury? Is that because of the loaded box? I think it's more so because of how Tampa Bay was playing the Niners, because they wanted to stop the run, blitz, and force Brock Purdy to beat them. As for how Christian McCaffrey fared in the air, this is that dual threat nature that the Niners have really missed. His diversity and versatility as a player, and just the mere threat that he poses as a pass catcher. Out of the slot, out of the backfield on wheel routes, it forces the defense to have to cover every blade of grass, and they always have eyes on him. And the Niners can use him on third downs. They can use him at any moment, running it, throwing it. And he's just so special with how he's able to impact the game, even when he doesn't have his hands on the football. And so he comes back after not playing at all up to this point and has more than 100 all-purpose yards. He's targeted 7 times. He catches 6 of those passes for 68 yards and had one of the biggest plays of the game. The stutter-go wheel route out of the backfield in which he beat Levante David and Brock Purdy had pressure right in his face, was able to throw that ball with touch, a moon ball down that sideline to McCaffrey, who ran under it like a center fielder, and that was a massive play in that ball game. Now, all of that being said, you're probably wondering, Chase, what's the good news? The good news, anytime that you have tendonitis, you might feel good one day, feel awful the next. You might play well one game, then it flares up. Christian McCaffrey, according to head coach Kyle Shanahan, no lingering pain after playing against Tampa Bay. That is huge given the injury. Now this week, he was limited on Wednesday, but that's part of the workload plan. The Niners are going to be very careful with how he practices, when he practices, how hard he practices, because they're trying to manage the touches and the workload to have him ready for game day. So that's the portion of the show where we're talking about Christian McCaffrey. Still to come, some good news on George Kittle and some positive developments with Brock Purdy. First, you know it's a positive development? The Prize Picks app. Why? It's the best app in the daily fantasy sports industry. The best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks. And when you sign up today, you get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive that $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks also offers weekly promotions that can lead to big payouts like Taco Tuesday. Each Tuesday, Prize Picks discounts select player projections up to 25% to provide even more value for all of your lineups. For instance, you think that Steph Curry will get more than 4 3-pointers next week? Anthony Edwards, more than 27 points. Brock Purdy, more than 263.5 passing yards. If that's the case, you choose more on those players. So the best way to win real money watching sports, which we obviously all enjoy. Some selections that we like for Niners Seahawks, Brock Purdy, more than 263.5 passing yards. Christian McCaffrey, more than 77.5 rushing yards. Geno Smith, more than 14.5 rushing yards. Again, get $50 when you play $5. All you need to do is plug in that link at the bottom of your screen, right along the ticker there. prizepicks.com/CLNS and use the code CLNS. Coming out of that Buccaneers game, we saw how impactful George Kittle was in that game. The touchdown catch that he had from Brock Purdy, toe drag swag, the massive play on the pitch and catch from Purdy to Kittle, in which he was near the sideline and then was able to bust it upfield, pick up yards after the catch to really flip the field and help turn the momentum of that game. And coming out of that game, Kyle Shanahan had said, George Kittle, he has some hamstring irritation. Anytime I hear hamstring, I get a little bit worried. I injured my hamstring back during the summer. It still gives me issues from time to time. These soft tissue injuries are the worst because you might feel good, you re-aggravate it, or they just linger for a really long time. The good news for Kittle, Kyle Shanahan saying, not much concern about his availability against the Seahawks. He did not practice on Wednesday. I also want to pose this question here, and I want you to put your thinking hats on. Has George Kittle been the Niners' offensive MVP for 2024? And is he the player who the Niners could least afford to lose this year? Some of you might say Trent Williams because he protects the blind side of Brock Purdy, but given the injury to Brandon Ayuk and how the Niners' offense has struggled this year, how great George Kittle has been, and the role that he's played as a run blocker, pass catcher, picking up yards after the catch, creating separation, and being a go-to target for Brock Purdy in the red zone, if George Kittle were to get lost due to an injury this year, I think that would really hamper the Niners' offense more so than any player on that side of the ball. George Kittle is truly having another all-pro season, and last year in 2023, he was a first-team all-pro. Overall Pro Football Focus grade of 90, a receiving grade of 90.9. He has been targeted 52 times, and he's caught 43 of those passes. He has 560 yards, on pace for overtaking what he did last year. His 7 touchdowns lead all tight ends in the NFL. He has been sure-handed, only 1 drop, a passer rating when targeted of 135.1, 13 yards per catch. He is the best tight end in football and the best all-around tight end in football. And last year, you look at how his numbers stacked up with what he's doing this year. 90 targets, 65 catches, more than 1,000 yards, 15.7 yards per catch. So that number is down a little bit. But all of last year, George Kittle had 6 touchdowns. Going into Week 11, he already has 7. The 49ers cannot afford to lose Kittle in this game against Seattle or any game this year because he really does play a pivotal role for this team in so many areas, not to mention he's the leader of this Niners offense and one of the faces of this team because he's always injecting positivity for all of his teammates on this roster. Let's round out with this. If Brock Purdy continues to play like the way that he did against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the San Francisco 49ers can contend with any team in the NFL. When the Niners couldn't run the football against Tampa Bay, they relied on the arm of Purdy. He balled out, and he was slinging it all over the yard. On that final drive, 4 of 5, got the ball back with 41 seconds left, marched the Niners right down the field, the only incompletion coming on that spike so that he could stop the clock for Jake Moody to connect on that field goal, just barely. The touchdown throw to George Kittle was an excellent play out of structure. The moonball to Christian McCaffrey with pressure in his face, leading him down that sideline so that he could run under it like a center fielder. The touch there was beautiful, and Brock Purdy is the second quarterback since 1950 to have a passer rating of 100+ in 10 of his first 15 road games. It's pretty damn good if you ask me. And against the Buccaneers, he was asked to throw it a lot, 36 times. Oftentimes the Niners, they don't throw it that much because they're a balanced offense who Kyle Shanahan likes to run it about 50% of the time. 50-50, usually the split right there. Yet, because the Bucs were applying pressure, they were blitzing a lot, loading the box, Kyle Shanahan was forced to call passing plays. And Brock Purdy passed with flying colors. 25 at 36, 353 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks, no turnovers at all. Yards per completion of 9.8 and a quarterback rating of 119.3. And against that Todd Bowles pressure, Purdy was awesome against the blitz. 18 at 22, 274 yards, 15 first downs included in those 18 completions. Those 2 touchdowns both coming against the blitz and a passer rating of 148.9. And how about these numbers here? Some chat stats on Brock Purdy. He has the best completion this year. He has the best completion percentage this year, on throws of 15 plus yards, 59.6%. It turns out he's not a check down merchant. He also ranks 9th among 468 qualifying quarterbacks over the last 15 years in that category. And the quarterback with the highest completion percentage in that group, Brock Purdy last year, when he completed 63.7% of his passes. If the 49ers are able to figure out their red zone problems, look out. It's going to give the defense some breathing room. It's going to give the special teams unit some breathing room, because if they simply score more points, you have some more wiggle room to make some mistakes elsewhere. And if the Niners can figure out how not to botch special team situations week in and week out, that's how this team can reach their fullest potential. I firmly believe that. And if Brock Purdy continues to play like that, Niners can beat any team in the NFL. Be sure to hit that subscribe button here on the Niners Report, approaching 150,000 subscribers. Really appreciate all of you for supporting the show as always. Our first super chat of the day, Cerebral Assassin, a $5 super chat. He's saying, what's up, faithful? And I'm saying, what's up to everybody out there? And I'm saying, what's up with our super chat battle? Because we have one more segment left, and we're down big, and down bad to a couple of rival channels. The Cowboys Report, $150 in super chats earlier this week. Seahawks today, $190. If we get to 200 total, I'm doing a beer boot. 3 beers, 1 boot. Let's get it popping.
We got to get close at least. We're getting blown out right now, baby.
Matthew Short, John Wallace, they've been some super chat legends here on the show. That is for sure. I see my guy, Wet Noodle 187. He's in enemy territory. He lives in the Pacific Northwest up there in Washington. Chip, how are we doing on questions for the mailbag? If we don't get enough questions, we can't do the mailbag.
We still only got those 2 from Matthew Short and Al.
I'm disappointed in the
What
faithful.
are we doing?
I'm not disappointed often, but I'm disappointed in the faithful.
Hashtag 49ers. It's now or never, baby. You want us to do a mailbag, get your questions in. There's Arabella Adam getting a question in. That's a good question right there as well.
Good stuff, Arabella. Al, he said, I'll do another one. Get it in, Al. You get a super chat, you'll be on the show first. John Wallace, I know you have a question about the Niners. Oh, no, I spilled.
Oh, no.
It's not good with the mailbag coming up. That means we have more time for you to get your questions in.
And there we go.
John Freeman, you can't replace Kittle. He's a baller, no doubt. Get your questions in. Hashtag 49ers. We're sending a super chat.
We actually have more. They didn't update.
All right, we have more. All right. So
John Wallace did send in a question already, actually.
Johnny Dubs sending in a question is what I would call a dub. Ooh, Champy. Lions and Cardinals, the 2 best teams in the NFC. Cards are a dark horse to come out of the NFC. Wow. If they made it to the Super Bowl, that would be nuts. James Bold, how are you feeling about Debo for the Seahawks game? Feeling great because he always plays so well against Seattle. Jet Travis already broke another record. I don't think so. Do I think that Kittle is better than Kelsey? Yes. That's been the case the last couple of years. Kelsey isn't the same player. He's also not the blocker. that Kittle is. Matthew Short, a $5 super chat. So we'll start off with that for our mailbag.
Also got that 2 from Al.
Lynn said, who here is going to the Niner game on Sunday? Who's going? Looks like Lynn Chauncey is. Have fun.
Boom. Al, $2 super. And then Matthew Short, $5 super chat.
John said, hey, y'all. My grandson, Jaden, he had an operation today to repair his broken bone. So he's healing up, and now I'm on my way home driving. So keep me up. We got you, John, and I hope that your grandson, Jaden, is okay. Scope this. Chase, do you think that we can beat the Chiefs this year with the team we currently have? And do you think they will go undefeated and three-peat? Somebody has to stop them. I don't think the Chiefs go 17-0. I don't like the Niners' chances of beating them. They would have to have an all-time game blocking along the offensive line and pressuring Patrick Mahomes. Broncos almost beat them in KC, but for whatever reason, just like the Cowboys lack the mental confidence against the Niners, and you see it visibly, the Niners lack the mental confidence against Kansas City, and you see it visibly. I think we're good to go, right? Can't really see that. Can't be looking sloppy for this video. Can't be looking like a schmuck. Wet Noodle with the 5. Ooh, I like that. That's a really good question. So we'll start off with Matthew Short and Wet Noodle for our mailbag here. We'll open up the floor, answer your questions, and we'll hit you with another Prize Picks read. Scope this said it's rough. I know, man. I know. Al, a $5 super chat. Mustafa for Rookie of the Year. That's another good one that we'll answer as well. All right, let's get this mailbag underway. We're up to $22 in super chats, so $180 away from a beer boot. All right, let's answer your questions right now. Hey there, what's happening? Welcome into the show. This is the San Francisco 49ers Report. I'm Chase Sr. Thank you so much for making today's show a part of your day and clicking on this video. So many talented people out there who are content creators and media members who cover the Niners, and obviously the content space for the NFL is very crowded and competitive. So anytime you decide to hang out here with me, I do appreciate that. A programming reminder, by the way, we will be live once again for this Week 11 tilt NFC West rivalry game between the Niners and the Seahawks. We'll be live for an hour and 5-minute pregame show beginning at 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Pacific. So we'll talk about the game during the pregame show. During the game, live play-by-play, audience interaction, instant reaction. We'll be riding on the seesaw together because these Niners games are always stressful. We'll have Super Chat giveaways, a Venmo 50-50 race, and then after the game, a post-game show. It's the best place to experience a Niners game day outside of being at Levi's Stadium, so I hope to see some real ones there. Let's begin our mailbag with this question coming in from Matthew Short, a longtime real one here on the program. $5 Super Chat. Thank you, my man. Chase, would you extend George Kittle, and would you draft his replacement in the upcoming NFL draft? That's a really good question there. George Kittle last year was a first-team All-Pro. And I think he's the best all-around tight end in the NFL, and that's been the case over the last couple of years. Travis Kelce has declined a little bit, but Travis Kelce is used more as a slot receiver for that Chiefs offense with Andy Reid calling the plays and designing the offense and Patrick Mahomes throwing him the football, whereas George Kittle is asked to do more. He's asked to block. He does it at a high level, and he's utilized as a pass catcher. And George Kittle can be the inline tight end. He can line up out of the slot. Great route runner. I think he's better at picking up yards after the catch. And this year, he's already surpassed his touchdown total from last year when he had 6 and was a first-team All-Pro. This year, he has 7, and he's already on pace for another 1,000-yard season. Of course, with George Kittle, he just turned 31 years old on October 9th. He isn't showing signs of decline. And at that tight end spot, you could play for a pretty long time. He is going to be a free agent in 2026. So there really is no rush to sign him to a contract extension. unless you're trying to backload that deal and lower the cap hits for the next couple of years. In 2024, he has a cap hit at 12.2. In 2025, 21.7. So do you let him play out 2025 and then you revisit that? You're probably asking this question because you don't want to think about George Kittle being on an expiring deal next year. It'd be weird to envision the Niners organization not having number 85. That's a player who's the heartbeat of this team, or at least one of them, the heartbeat of the offense for sure. A tremendous leader, a guy who always rallies his teammates, injects some positivity. I love his spirit. I love what he's about. He loves the game of football. And do you give him a contract extension? Maybe you flirt that possibility given the current financial status of this organization. Do you let that last year play out? You could also do that too. But certainly have to start thinking about that. And over the last couple of years, I've said, you should probably start to think about drafting his future replacement or at least get better at the backup tight end spot. I like Jared Wiley coming out of TCU. The Niners didn't draft him. And Eric Saubert, he's a veteran journeyman for a reason. He's really just a blocker, and this year he's been penalized a lot. I'm not a believer in Braden Willis. Mason Pline, a former basketball player, he's a rookie on the practice squad. He's an unknown commodity. I think good businesses always plan ahead, and I think the Niners should probably do that during this upcoming 2025 NFL Draft. Wet Noodle 187, $5 super chat here. Thank you, my man. Another longtime viewer of the show. Who is your defensive MVP? That is a great question. Couple of names come to mind. Fred Warner is having a defensive player of the year type of season, so he would probably be my pick. And just like George Kittle is the heartbeat of this team, so too is Fred Warner. They both possess leadership skills. They both have this spirit that is really contagious. They both play the way that you want anybody to play the game of football. Their approach to life in football is so noticeable too. And it's something that everybody should model, regardless of what occupation or profession that you're in. I think if the Niners didn't have Fred Warner, who, by the way, has missed one game in his entire career, which is insane, they would be screwed without Fred Warner, just because of how much he does against the run, against the pass, controlling that second level and the entire middle area of the field. He can cover wide receivers. He can cover tight ends. He can cover running backs. He can chase down quarterbacks. He's unique. He's one of one. If you want to go co-MVP, it would be Deommodore Lenoir. Deommodore Lenoir, who this week signed a 5-year, $92 million contract extension, $18.4 million in average annual value. That makes him the 12th highest paid corner in the NFL. He's given up 4 touchdowns in coverage in his career. He's in year 4, has not given up a touchdown in coverage this season. And whatever the Niners ask of him, if he needs to play the slot, nickel, he can do that. If he needs to play outside, he can do that. And he can cover all types of different prototypes at that wide receiver spot. He has been incredible this year. 2 interceptions, one of Dak Prescott, one of Patrick Mahomes. So I'd go Fred Warner, but if we want to go co-MVPs, it's Fred Warner, Deommodore Lenoir. And what's the constant between both of those players? Every week they bring it. Every week they fly around and play with swagger and physicality. I love watching 54. I love watching number 2. And Nick Bosa's having a really good year. Don't always judge an edge rusher season by sacks. I kind of look at sacks sometimes as wins and losses for a pitcher. Doesn't tell the full story. ERA tells the full story. Pressures, Nick Bosa's compiled a lot of those. He's been really good. His Pro Football Focus numbers are tremendous. So in an order, Fred Warner, Deommodore Lenoir, Nick Bosa. If you want to go co-MVP, Warner, Demo, and then Bosa comes in after those guys. Al at the $5 super chat. Malik Mustafa for Rookie of the Year. Let's talk about this rookie class. And let's just talk about what they did against the Buccaneers, right? Ricky Pearsall, 46-yard touchdown in which he picked up 30 yards of yak to break that scoreless tie. The stutter step on Antoine Winfield, the highest paid safety in the game, in order to get to the pylon, terrific play. Then he caught 2 balls of Purdy's 4 completions on the game-winning drive. Jawan Jennings caught the other 2. And you see the ability for Ricky Pearsall. He ran a 4.4 40-yard dash excuse me, in the pre-draft process. I wanted to see how that speed translated to the NFL level. We saw the long speed on that touchdown. How about the 39-yard end around against the Dallas Cowboys, the jet sweep, in which he was able to show patience, let the block set up, and then boom, he was shot out of a cannon. So I like him a lot. Ronaldo Green, second-round pick, third highest graded corner in the NFL this year. In his first start against Tampa Bay, him and Demo on the outside, they were great. And with that Deommodore Lenoir contract extension, I think Charvarius Ward plays elsewhere in 2025, and Green, Lenoir are your starting outside corners. Dominic Pooney has not given up a sack on 350 pass blocking snaps, and he's been one of the best run blocking offensive guards in football. Isaac Rendo has popped. Jacob Cowing, he has some ability. Malik Mustafa, he's been the starting safety for this team. He plays like a bat out of hell. So is he the rookie of the year? I don't think so, but he's been valuable for a Niners draft class, which has been crushing it here this year and all playing critical roles. Our sponsor for today, our friends at Prize Picks. Daily fantasy sports made easy, the best place to get real money sports action with over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings. Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks. And it's pretty incredible how you can win 100 times your money on Prize Picks. It's the best way to get action on sports in over 30 states, including California, Florida, Georgia, and Texas. The only real money daily fantasy sports platform with an injury insurance policy so that your lineups stay in play even if one of your players gets injured. If your player leaves in the first half and doesn't return, Prize Picks keeps your lineup live. Right now, if you sign up by going to prizepicks.com/CLNS, you get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive that $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Our selections for Niners Seahawks on Sunday. Brock Purdy, more than 263.5 passing yards. Christian McCaffrey, more than 77.5 rushing yards. Geno Smith, more than 14.5 rushing yards. Run your game with Prize Picks. prizepicks.com/CLNS. We'll put that link down below in the comment section and attached to the pinned comment of today's San Francisco 49ers report. How about this $100 super chat coming in from Sean? For those of you watching this mailbag after the fact, we are live right now. Sean, I will celebrate this super chat even more so than giving you a San Francisco once we wrap up with this segment. Thank you so much for this monster donation. Really appreciate that. And Sean says the Super Bowl window closed last year. The 49ers might make the playoffs this year, and including coaching at all levels. How would you rebuild this team to win the Super Bowl starting this offseason and in the next 5 years? Okay, so a lot to get to here. I don't think the Niners Super Bowl window has closed. Why is that? You still have a really good offensive mind in Kyle Shanahan. This is a Niners team that is second in yards per game offensively. They're 28th in red zone touchdown efficiency. And so if they can start capitalizing in the red zone, they're going to be averaging more than 30 points per game. And that is not an offense that is struggling. Defensively, they have made some strides of late. And I think we've all seen what this Niners team is capable of being. And let me ask you this. If the Niners were to meet up with the Detroit Lions, the number 1 seed in the NFC, do you think San Francisco could win? I think so. I think the Lions actually are built very much like the Niners. They're like a younger version of the Niners with the physicality that they have and the talent that they have. The number 2 seed in the NFC right now, the Philadelphia Eagles. That's going into Thursday Night Football against the Commanders. Niners, Eagles? I could easily see Philadelphia winning that game. The 3 seed, the Atlanta Falcons. Niners are better than Atlanta. The 4 seed, Arizona. Big game coming up in Week 18. The 5 seed, Minnesota Vikings. The 6 seed is... Who's the 6 seed right now? The 7 seed is the Green Bay Packers. The 6 seed is the Washington Commanders. And so I think the Niners stack up very well against any team in the NFC. Can they beat Kansas City? They have that lack of mental confidence, which really concerns me. And I think that when you look at this roster, there's still plenty of talent on it. what's so massive is what I talked about earlier. This rookie draft class. This rookie draft class could really help the Niners continue to be a sustainable winner. And this is my theory, right? How do you become a sustainable winner in the NFL? How do you win consistently? You replenish the cupboard of talent and you hit on these draft picks. Because those players, if they can be contributors, are cost-controlled assets for 4 or 5 years. That is huge. And so I don't think the Niners need to rebuild. If they make it into the playoffs, they lose early. If they don't make it into the playoffs, I don't think it's a rebuild. I think it's more of a retooling. How can the Niners get better? You're good at left tackle with Trent Williams. Do you bring back Aaron Banks? Maybe. I think you draft a center. You draft a right tackle. Dominic Puni has been one of the top right guards in the NFL. If you have a better offensive line, this Niners team is capable of so much. You're good at quarterback. I'm a believer in Brock Purdy. You're good at running back. You're good at wide receiver. You need another edge rusher, probably another defensive tackle. We'll see what happens with Dre Greenlaw when he comes back, but you probably need a third linebacker. You're going to need some corner depth because I think Charvarius Ward moves on. You'll have Renardo Green, Diamador Lenore. You're good there. Malik Mustafa and Jair Brown at safety. I think you're good there. You let Talanoa Hufanga walk because he could get paid by somebody else based upon his pedigree as being an all-pro. We'll see what happens with Nick Sorensen. Maybe you bring in a new DC. You bring back Robert Saleh. Maybe you bring in another set of eyes on the offensive side of the football to have an offensive coordinator. Niners currently don't have one. Kyle Shanahan is the play caller. He'll always be the play caller. But do you bulk up the offensive staff a little bit? You need a backup tight end. But I still think this Niners roster is pretty damn good. I don't think you need to rebuild. I will say this division could come down to Week 18. Niners, Cardinals, winner gets into the playoffs and wins the division. Loser doesn't make the playoffs. Because the second place team in the NFC North is going to make it, either the Lions, Vikings, or Packers. And I think the Lions, Vikings, and Packers make it. And then the other team that makes it into the playoffs, second place team in the NFC East, either the Eagles or the Commanders. So Niners going to have to finish the season out hot. Not a lot of wiggle room. Matthew Short. Chase, would you draft right tackle or a defensive end in the first round of the draft? So funny that you asked that because I think what the Niners have to do in the first round next year, draft the right tackle. If you draft a right tackle and you hit on that pick like you hit on Dominic Puni, you're going to go from having one of the worst offensive lines in football to one of the best. Trent Williams still playing well. We'll see if they retain Aaron Banks. I think you need a new center. Jake Brendel, just not good enough in my opinion. Dominic Puni's a stud. Colton McKivitz is a good backup swing tackle. You draft a legitimate starter at that right tackle spot, you're in a fantastic spot. And I do think it's smart to build your team in the trenches. My rules for building a football team, you got to find your quarterback, you have to protect the quarterback, and you have to get after the quarterback. And so I'm looking at right tackle, I'm looking at defensive end because Nick Bosa could use some help at that other edge spot. I think Leonard Floyd's been a little bit disappointing. Arabella Adam, longtime Real One. What impressed you so much about the win against Tampa and this team moving forward? You know what I liked is how the Niners defense buckled down in the red zone with the Bucs driving after multiple personal foul penalties. The game seemed to be snowballing on San Francisco, yet they were able to keep the Buccaneers out of the end zone, force a field goal, get the ball back to their offense, and Purdy and Jake Moody did the rest. Jake Moody, barely. Evan Anderson, how about the UDFA out of Florida Atlantic, who bursts through the line and makes that huge run stop during that red zone sequence there. That was very impressive. What else impressed me too, how the Niners came back, how they had to deal with adversity, and how Brock Purdy had to throw it 36 times and threw for 353 yards. John Wallace, is there any talk of Kyle Shanahan doing the three-headed monster to save Christian McCaffrey? I really wanted Kyle Shanahan to go about it in that way. They ran Christian McCaffrey into the ground last year. He led the NFL in touches, led the NFL in touchdowns, had more than 2,000 all-purpose yards. He was used so much as a running back and as a receiver. And in turn, I think that led to him being banged up to start this year because his body was feeling it. Now, the Niners used him in that way because they didn't have a lot of depth at the running back position in 2023 or in 2022 because Elijah Mitchell was always hurt. Elijah Mitchell, remember him? This year, though, they have legitimate backup running backs. Jordan Mason, and Isaac Orendo. So I'd like to see them mix them in to save McCaffrey, but also I think they give the defense a different look and a different style, which I think is important. But McCaffrey's so good as a runner, as a pass catcher, and this is what's underrated, as a blocker, protecting Brock Purdy. Be sure to hit that subscribe button, hit that bell icon, turn on your notifications. Therefore, anytime we go live or push out a show, you will be notified. How about this? Sean. Oh! Sean. A $100 super chat. Thank you so much, Sean, for the $100 super chat. Let me make you a deal, Sean. And I don't know if I've ever seen you send in a super chat here on the show, but I went very long on your question because you sent in a Benji Frank. If you send in another $100 super chat, I'm going to send you a 49ers Report hat. So if you send in another 100 on this stream, and we're about to sign off here soon, I'm going to send you a 49ers Report hat as a big thank you to you. YouTube takes about 40%. Kind of sucks. You send in another 100, we're going to put you in the 49ers Report Hall of Fame, and I'm going to send you a 49ers Report hat. Cam's dad, Chase, lock us in. You and Debo. You know I'm always locked in, man. You know I'm always locked in. Trip Aces. All you need to do is beef up the line. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, isn't it crazy how YT takes that much off Super Chats? It's a crime. That's why we push Venmo sometimes. Trip Aces. The faithful gets number 6 at home. What he's referring to there, the Super Bowl, is at Levi's Stadium in 2025. I got a beer bet for the game. What do you got, man? What do you got? Was there another super that came in? Matthew Short. That was the other one. Yep. Oh, Kalen Adaki. $5. Kalen Adaki, one of our super chat OGs and legends last year. He said, let's go Niners. And Johnny Dubs with the 3. Appreciate the shout out for my grandson. Yes, quick healing for the grandson, brother. Nice. That's disgusting. All right. We're about to sign off. Sean, last call. $100 super chat. You send in one more, I'm sending you a 49ers Report hat.
Sean, it always gets me fired up when someone who I haven't seen before on the channel send in anything. Drop a Honda on?
Just comes in out of nowhere.
Gets me fired up, man.
DZ Live Media. My comments coming through. What up, DZ Live?
They are now.
Clearly.
I haven't seen any other ones from you, though, so whatever you did to fix it worked. There we go. There we go.
There we go. What's up, DZ Live Media? You got a question? I'll answer it right now. We're about to dip out. John Wallace, I say, let Hufanga go and then bring back Robert Saleh. Yeah, Saleh, we'll see. You know, look, if Nick Sorensen continues to have this defense playing well, I mean, they've really played well, let's see, since the Arizona game. You know, they played well against Seattle. They played well against Kansas City. They played well against Dallas and Tampa Bay. That's 4 games in a row. Any candidates for special teams if Brian Schneider goes, would that be the pick? Or who would you pick? Man, I'd really have to go deep into the bag of names and do some research. But, like, here's my thing. Bill Belichick valued special teams so much because he understood it can win and lose you games. Look at Andy Reid. Andy Reid's special teams units have come through so many times this year. They blocked a 30-plus yard field goal, a chip shot, to win the game against Denver. The Pittsburgh Steelers earlier this year, they had 3 straight weeks where they had a game-changing special teams play. Like, Kyle Shanahan just needs to take it more seriously. It's your boy Chris. Can I have my mod back? I will stop. I'm sorry. I subscribed. When we need you to be a mod, we can have you be a mod. We don't need you to be a mod now because there are no bots to block. But you can't act up like that and continue to be a mod. So you're in timeout. You're in timeout. As Chip said, you're out of pocket. All right, we're going to sign off. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for being here. Another good time. Our Super Chat MVP, Sean Theriault, $100. What a guy. Oh, Sean, T-shirt signed by you. I don't wear hats. I don't have a 49ers Report T-shirt. I can sign the hat. I can sign the hat for you. I'll put some gold Sharpie right on a black 49ers Report hat. I wonder if Sean's watching on delay, though, because he answered that from a few moments ago. DZ Live. No questions, man. Just checking out the show. Always watching on game days. Love the show. Keep it up. LFG Niners. I'm Darren Nolan. Last week, duck race winner. Oh, nice. Darren Nolan, the duck race winner. That was, let me check the archives here.
That was big time.
That was a huge duck race. Let's see, what was it? 160, right?
Woo! Yeah, that sounds right.
160. Gonna see if we'll give Sean like another minute. One more minute. 60 seconds for Sean. 60 seconds for Sean. I'll sign the hat for you, Sean. And if we sign off by the time that you're watching this and it doesn't go through and you join us on Sunday and you send that in, another Benji Frank, I'll still sign the hat for you. Yeah, Johnny Dubs was a close second. So Darren Nolan just beat out John Wallace. Sean, I'm good. Thank you. Love your show. We appreciate you, my man. Thanks for being here. We'll get some 49ers Report merch at some point. I mean, we have a hat. We have hats, so that's part of the merch. But the one shirt that I wear, 49ers Report, I'd like to get some more of those because some people said they really liked them. All right, for Chip, I'm Chase. We're heading out. Thanks for being here. We'll see you live again on Sunday. I'm going live in 51 minutes with Grant Cohn, Jesse Naylor, Ashley Ariana on the 49ers Collective, live on Friday with Larry Krueger, and then, again, live here on Sunday. And then in the meantime, so much content every single day because that's what we do.